One pull of a pin, for seconds, and everything within 15 feet was gone. They called it the pineapple of death. Soldiers held it with trembling hands, fully aware that this small, rigid shell contained enough explosive force to end lives instantly. The World War II hand grenade wasn't just a weapon, it was psychological terror in a palm-sized package, a game-changer on the battlefield, one of the deadliest inventions ever designed to be held in human hands. But what most people never realize is that the secrets hidden inside that metal shell were far more sinister than anyone imagined. Every curve, every ridge, every gram of material was engineered for one purpose: destruction. And tonight, you're going to discover exactly what made this weapon so terrifyingly effective. Picture a muddy trench somewhere in France, 1944. Rain hammers down relentlessly. The thunder of distant artillery rolls across no man's land. A young American soldier, barely 20, crouches in the darkness, his fingers wrapped around a cold metal sphere. He's never thrown one before. His sergeant showed him once. Pull the pin, release the lever, throw as far as you can, and pray you counted the seconds right. Because mistakes with grenades weren't survivable. The grenade in his hand weighs just over a pound. It seems harmless, almost toy-like. But inside, 2 ounces of TNT are waiting to erupt into a supersonic wave of metal fragments and explosive force. And the engineering behind it. That's where the story really begins. Let's go further back, to the drawing boards, the weapons laboratories, to the minds of the engineers who created these instruments of war. The outer shell, the iconic pineapple pattern, wasn't decorative. Those raised squares and grooves fragmented the metal casing into dozens of deadly shards, each flying at speeds exceeding 3,000 feet per second, faster than a rifle bullet. Each fragment could pierce flesh, bone, even light armor. But how did it explode so reliably in midair, transforming a small object into a sphere of death? The answer lies in a mechanical system of terrifying ingenuity. Inside every grenade, there was a striker, a primer, and a delay fuse. Pull the safety pin, and nothing happens. Release the lever, soldiers called it the spoon, and the striker's spring slams forward, igniting the primer. A small flame burns through the delay fuse at a precise rate. 4 to 5 seconds. Just enough for the thrower to get it away from themselves, but too little for the enemy to react. Seconds became a countdown to terror. The psychological genius behind this weapon was as meticulous as its engineering. The distinctive pineapple shape was instantly recognizable. Soldiers on both sides knew the moment one flew toward them that death was coming. That split second of recognition could freeze men in place, and in war, a single hesitation could mean death. Different nations had different philosophies for how grenades should kill. The American 2 Malawian Quachas, the famous pineapple grenade, prioritized fragmentation, producing maximum shrapnel and casualties. The Germans developed the stick grenade, the potato masher, built for blast effect over fragmentation, throwing farther and emphasizing concussive force over lethal shards. British Mills bombs were pre-notched for predictable fragmentation. The Japanese Type 97 required soldiers to strike a firing pin against a hard surface, exposing them for a dangerous extra second. Each design reflected not just engineering, but a nation's tactical doctrine, a philosophy of killing. Inside these small shells lay another layer of terror, material science and chemistry, refined through trial, error, and brutal battlefield testing. TNT became the standard for Allied grenades, but compositions like TNT and RDX mixtures packed even more explosive punch. A mere 2 ounces of TNT could unleash a pressure wave capable of collapsing lungs and rupturing organs, even if no fragment struck a soldier. Battlefield reports confirm grenades often outperformed rifles in close quarters, clearing entire positions where a bullet might kill one enemy. But using them required nerves of steel. Some soldiers risked cooking grenades, holding them a second longer after releasing the spoon to reduce reaction time for enemies, a gamble that could easily cost their own lives. Despite careful engineering, grenades were unpredictable. Each explosion fractured slightly differently, influenced by tiny imperfections in the metal or the positioning of the explosive core. Some fragments flew far and fast, others slower but heavier. Medical officers quickly learned that grenade wounds were unlike anything else. Multiple entry points, irregular channels, and fragments embedded at varying depths. Infection was common, survival uncertain. But grenades didn't always work. Duds were a constant threat. Faulty primers, moisture, or manufacturing errors could turn an instrument of death into a useless hunk of metal. Soldiers learned caution, carrying multiples because reliability was never guaranteed. The auditory terror of grenades added another dimension. The deep, percussive whump of a detonation could be felt in the chest. In confined spaces, the overpressure effect magnified the blast. Soldiers trained rigorously, learning to throw grenades under fire, from crouching or prone positions, while the world erupted around them. Training accidents were common. American recruits used practice grenades with minimal charges. British soldiers practiced in blast-walled pits, Germans with wooden replicas. Yet even the best preparation couldn't fully mitigate the danger. Grenades shaped tactics in profound ways. On the Eastern Front, Soviet soldiers perfected the grenade assault, crawling under darkness with dozens of grenades, unleashing coordinated volleys that decimated enemy trenches in seconds. Germans innovated too, dropping grenade bouquets or rolling grenades along the ground to surprise defenders. Urban combat made grenades indispensable, clearing rooms, floors, and buildings without exposing soldiers to lethal fire. In every theater, from jungles to hedgerows, grenades rewrote the rules of infantry warfare. They democratized destruction, giving individual soldiers the power to neutralize fortifications without artillery support, while exposing them to unparalleled psychological strain. The production of these weapons was staggering. The United States manufactured around 50 million grenades. Britain and Germany produced millions more, often under extreme conditions. Soviet output may have exceeded 100 million. Factory workers, many women, risked life and limb daily, filling shells, installing fuses, and packing them for shipment. Sparks, errors, or missteps could trigger catastrophic explosions, industrial casualties hidden behind the veil of war. Soldiers carried grenades constantly, aware of the potential catastrophe even in their own packs. Combat became a deadly choreography of preparation, timing, and split-second decisions. Pull the pin, release the spoon, throw, and brace for impact. Seconds stretched into eternity as the grenade arced through the air. Veterans could distinguish types of explosions by sound alone, differentiating friend from foe, predicting next moves. The aftermath was horrific. Screaming, acrid smoke, chaos, and medical triage under fire. Grenades fundamentally changed how battles were fought, making small units capable of feats that once required entire battalions. The psychological toll, however, lingered long after the war ended. Soldiers faced not only death around them, but the haunting memory of the power they wielded. As the war progressed, grenades evolved in countless ways, yet their basic principles, explosive core, fragmentation shell, delay fuse, portability, remained. What made them deadly was not a single feature, but a combination: lethality, accessibility, psychological terror, and the ability to empower individual soldiers. They forced infantry to adapt, think, and endure in ways no other weapon had before. And when you hold a World War II hand grenade in your mind's eye, you realize it was more than metal and explosive. It was a distillation of human ingenuity, fear, courage, and cruelty. So we return to that young soldier in the French trench. The cold steel pressed into his palm, the knowledge that in 4 seconds, everything around him could be obliterated. He pulls the pin, releases the spoon, and throws. Pressed to the ground, he counts the seconds. 1, 2, 3. Then an explosion of sound and fury transforms the world around him. Multiply that moment across millions of grenades, billions of seconds of terror, and the true scope of World War II's violence comes into focus. Each grenade told a story. Each decision, each throw, each heartbeat determined survival. The hand grenade may not have been the most powerful or the most sophisticated weapon of the war, but it was the most personal, the most immediate, and in many ways the most terrifying. It was a weapon that put the raw, concentrated power of destruction into the hands of ordinary soldiers, forever changing the way wars were fought and remembered. The pineapple of death, seemingly whimsical in name, carries a story of engineering, human fear, and the moral weight of wielding life and death in the palm of your hand. For those who held it, every throw was a choice that changed them forever. And the story of these grenades is not just about explosive force. It's about human ingenuity, terror, and the haunting calculus of survival during the most brutal conflict in history.